Welcome to The Explainer. Let's get right into it today because we are unpacking what I genuinely believe is the definitive category king in a completely new, absolutely critical layer of AI infrastructure. We're talking about a massive paradigm shift in how enterprises safely deploy autonomous systems. And as you'll see, we're going to explore exactly why this is shaping up to be one of the most compelling investment opportunities of the decade. To really grasp the scale of what's happening right now, just look at this number, $18 billion. Dollars. That is JP Morgan Chase's annual tech investment alone. Across the board, enterprises are moving at breakneck speed. They're deploying AI agents across over 300 machine learning models in live production environments right now. So we're way past the pilot phase here. This is a massive enterprise scale rollout. But here's the thing, the stakes, they've changed permanently. We're in the middle of this fundamental shift from AI that just chats to AI that actually acts. It's no longer just a friendly little co-pilot sitting on the sidelines giving you recommendations. We're dealing with fully autonomous agents that are executing real financial trades, moving physical industrial robots, and directly altering cloud infrastructure. The AI literally has its hands on the steering wheel now. Okay, let's dive into this. Act I, the era of AI action. So this era of AI action, it isn't just coming, it is absolutely here. Right now, over 80% of enterprise leaders are deploying autonomous agents connected directly to real-world critical infrastructure. But, and this is a massive but, they are essentially building a sports car without the brakes. Nearly half of those same leaders openly admits they have extremely low confidence in their current risk posture. Because think about it, when an AI agent has the power to initiate a payment or rewrite a database, it introduces completely unprecedented legal, financial, and physical risks. A single unchecked error isn't just some funny AI hallucination anymore, it's a catastrophic liability. Which brings us to Act 2, the security illusion. And this is where we hit a really stark reality. The current multi-billion dollar AI security market, it's basically built for an old world. Now, legacy players like Lakera, Protect AI, and Robust Intelligence, they're doing great work, but their focus is entirely on prompt filtering, model scanning, and post-execution monitoring. Meaning, they're looking at what the AI says, or they're logging what it did after the fact. But if an agent decides to just go ahead and delete a database, and your monitoring tool simply logs that event, well, the catastrophic execution still happens. It's kind of like installing a really expensive security camera that politely records the bank robber instead of actually locking the vault door. So the line between that old world and the new necessity is incredibly stark. Legacy AI security is probabilistic. It observes and it reacts post-execution. But execution authorization, which is exactly what TrigGuard provides, is entirely different. It's deterministic. It sits pre-execution. It doesn't just watch the gate, it literally is the gate. Moving on to Act 3, a new infrastructure layer. This paradigm shift requires true category creation, right? We aren't just talking about, adding a new feature to an existing dashboard. Execution authorization is a fundamental shift in how we architect safety for digital systems. Look at Stripe. They became the category king by governing payments. Auth0 did it by governing identity authentication. Well, TrigGuard is positioning itself as the exact same type of foundational layer, but for governing AI execution. It is the inevitable protocol that simply has to exist between the AI's intent and the real world action. Now, what's really interesting here is Act 4, the TrigGuard architecture. At its core, execution authorization is a deterministic pre-execution control plane. And the absolutely crucial operating principle you need to remember here is fail closed by default. TrigGuard sits right there, dead center between the AI and the action. It evaluates the agent's intent and returns a hard, deterministic verdict: permit, deny, or silence. No valid permit, no execution. End of story. And they've built this into a foolproof system through a very precise four-step flow. First, the system evaluates the request. Second, if it's permitted, it issues a single-use commit token. Third, right before that irreversible action is taken, it verifies the token. And fourth, it issues a cryptographic receipt. This proves that TrigGuard is a robust, active protocol. It's not just some reactive dashboard reporting on the weather. The absolute brilliance of this architecture relies on these E2559 signed cryptographic receipts. Now, what does that actually mean in plain English? It means every single execution decision is tamper evident and offline verifiable. So when the regulators inevitably knock on the door and ask, hey, who authorized this trade, or who told that robot to move, you have hard mathematical proof that a specific policy permitted the action.
which leads perfectly into Act V, enterprise urgency and adoption.
Having this level of absolute certainty is creating immense market pull. In highly regulated, high blast radius sectors, they aren't just casually browsing for solutions. This is an urgent demand because they literally cannot deploy without it. Look at these inevitability scores. Financial services scores a 9.8 out of 10. Defense is at 9.7. Autonomous vehicles at 9.6. Think about entities like Waymo operating robotaxis, Palantir in defense, or Siemens managing industrial robotics. They face catastrophic liability, both financial and physical, without this deterministic gate in place. For them, TrigGuard isn't optional, it's mandatory.
And the strategic vision defines this perfectly as trust transfer. You know how SOC 2 compliance became the ultimate gold standard that accelerated SaaS procurement? Well, TrigGuard acts as that exact same kind of due diligence accelerator, but for enterprise AI. By having TrigGuard in place, AI developers can instantly prove to their enterprise buyers that their agents are entirely safe to deploy in production. It's a massive competitive advantage.
And if the operational risk wasn't enough to convince you, just look at the regulatory drivers enforcing this inevitability. We've got the EU AI Act, DORA, the NIST framework, PRA, and FCA guidelines. Global regulators are rapidly turning execution authorization from a nice to have feature into legally required compliance infrastructure. Pretty soon, you simply won't be allowed to operate autonomous agents without a verifiable audit trail of prior authorization.
Act VI, the inevitable future.
Let's talk about the truly massive financial opportunity for those who recognize this shift early. The projected size of the AI governance market by 2030 is $7.4 billion, dollars, and it's growing at a staggering 51% compound annual growth rate. Because execution authorization sits at the very heart of this, right where the highest risk and highest value collide, the platform that owns this layer ultimately owns the most critical piece of the entire AI economy. And this brilliantly illustrates how TrigGuard's long-term vision isn't stopping at single actions. They're already building toward cross-system decision verification, distributed policy enforcement, and complex execution audit chains. They are securing an incredibly deep, defensible moat by establishing themselves as the standard execution protocol, while honestly, their competitors haven't even realized the security category has split in two. Ultimately, it all comes down to controlling the execution surface. Preventing harm before it happens is literally the only way to safely deploy autonomous systems at an enterprise scale. You cannot unsend a multi-million-dollar wire transfer, and you definitely cannot uncrash a vehicle. You absolutely must control the action at the source. So, as we rapidly approach a reality where AI agents are acting on our behalf every single day, we have to ask ourselves one crucial question. When AI controls the world's infrastructure, who controls the AI? Based on the evidence we've seen today, the only logical answer is a deterministic, pre-execution infrastructure layer like TrigGuard. Thanks so much for exploring this massive technological shift with me.